How would you harmonize Deuteronomy 5:24 and John 5:37? The Lord our God truly has displayed his glory and power, for we heard him from out of the fire today. We have witnessed how God spoke to human beings, yet they lived. But then Jesus in John 5 says, the Father who sent me has himself testified on my behalf. You have never heard his voice or seen what he looks like.
Well, that's a criticism. You should have. If you had been favored, as was Moses, to actually see at least a part of God, but you haven't. You ought to have. So that's an implied criticism there. They did hear the voice of God when the Ten Commandments are given. That's true. Nobody's seen God quite directly face to face and lived. So they saw God in a vision, as they did in Isaiah 6. I saw Adonai, the Lord God, in a vision. But that tremendous theophany granted to Moses, something that really spiritual people could have had. So I think that's a criticism there. We've witnessed how God spoke to human beings, yet they lived. We heard him from out of the fire. They did. I don't know if they heard words exactly as Moses did. Moses was particularly blessed, of course, but even Moses was not allowed to see God quite directly as one might hope for, but he was given a theophany, that's an appearance of God. Very often an angel appears as God. So if you've seen the angel, you will have seen God, so to speak, because the name and authority of God is in that angel.
Right, so these are called theophanies. Invariably, most of the time, theophanies are in visions, as you said. So you have the vision, for example, Jacob's ladder. I hadn't noticed when I read that story of Jacob's ladder. I believe it's Genesis maybe 28 or so. So Jacob is dreaming. I believe it's a dream. And there's this ladder that goes all the way up to heaven, and angels come down. And by the way, this is cited by John, I believe, in John 1. Jesus says to Nathanael, I believe, that he's the Son of Man. What if you see that vision of Jacob, something like that. My point is that in the original vision of Genesis, I had noticed that Jacob says he saw the Lord, Yahweh, at the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
And you quoted Isaiah 6, which is similar to Ezekiel 1. Ezekiel saw a figure on a throne in the famous vehicle of God.
Yes.
And at the top, he says he saw one like a human being, by the way, which is interesting.
Interesting also.
Now, these are called theophanies.
Yes. Visions of God.
People tend to confuse that with the angel of the Lord. In other words, we know that the angel of the Lord is sometimes identified as God himself. A good example is the burning bush, the famous Exodus 3. So sometimes, yes, it is an angel because it says it's an angel.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially when they see God on his throne, Yahweh, it cannot possibly be an angel, can it?
No, that's right. So there's a certain, I use the word deliberately, confusing of the angel and God because they stand for each other. The name of God is in that angel of the Lord. One of the ones I like very much is where, is it the parents of, forgotten who it is, where an angel of the Lord shows up and the text says, if you're going to offer a sacrifice, offer it to God, not to me.
Typically, the text will help us out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And say it's an angel who's speaking for God. But you mentioned Isaiah 6. I mean, this cannot be an angel. It says, I saw the Lord seated on a throne.
Yeah, I think so.
And the train of his robe filled the temple. And so, I mean, that's not an angel.
No, I don't think so at all.
But sometimes, Anthony, I think you alluded to Moses saw the backside of God.
Of course.
Now, that's an interesting one because that's not a vision.
No.
And then we have this one that I always bring up. In Exodus 24, God calls Moses and the elders up to Mount Sinai. What can you tell me about verses 10 and 11?
Well, they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet was something like a pavement. They saw God in some sense. I don't know. I'm not going to clarify that. It's not clear to me. They didn't see God in some sense, and they did in another sense. I'll wait and see how that works. That's not a vision. They saw the God of Israel in some spectacular way.
Yeah, this is so amazing because it says they looked at God, they saw God,
and they lived.
Yet lived to eat and drink.
Yes.
So they had a little lunch up there with God himself. I think it's God himself. I don't see context here of
it didn't
an angel.
kill them. No, I think it's God himself.
Anyway,